Hello, welcome,
Welcome back to Single Ladies.
married women. Here we
Hi.
are. Hi, it's just me and Brees.
Yay! Hopefully you listened to one of our previous episodes with our guests, male guests we had, and thank you for your comments in advance. So,
So here we are. The last two times we recorded, we had guests here, so we have to just talk to each other.
yeah,
right
it's
now,
so
and that's
great.
okay. But it's fun. We haven't done this in a while.
Yeah, it's
Although we did
intimate.
go out and have some good dessert.
Yeah.
Was that last week?
Yes.
That was a week ago.
My favorite spot in the village. It was wonderful. I love our gal time. I love that we get to talk and spend time. And it's like hard because most of our conversations, like we wish we were recording because we just get on something really good and start talking about life and sharing powerfully. And I love that about our talks.
I do
So
too.
just
I do too.
FYI. It's
And
real all the time.
It is, and
Monica and
it's pretty funny when I must get some kind of look on my face because all of a sudden you'll go, and here it comes, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to say one of those things that I
love
say,
it.
things that I say.
That are awesome.
I started writing them all down. I started making a list
Of your sayings?
Of my sayings.
Fabulous.
Yes. Of course, it's in the other room, but I'll see how many pop out at the moment.
Great. Well, today's topic is dedicated to the ladies at WeWork. My office worked out of there for a while, and some of the ladies who listen to podcasts, thank you for listening, ladies
Thank
at
you.
WeWork. Really wanted to talk about loss and heartbreak. And Monica and I have both experienced various forms of that, and we're going to share a little bit about it. And I guess, like we always do,
We'll see what happens.
we'll see what happens. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and I guess that's a big umbrella.
Cavern.
That's a big umbrella.
You're like umbrella, I'm like cavern. You say
Love and loss,
tomato.
and what kind of loss have we done? There's all kinds.
Yeah.
Breakups and miscommunications and lost opportunities and should have done that better. And
Yeah.
So I
Well,
don't even know where to
think
start.
She was talking more about heartbreak, but I know, as I said before, we both have experienced loss in different ways. And she just said, the feedback I got was, oh, it's a great podcast. You guys are really positive. And like, I want to know some of the trials you've gone through. I want to know some of the tribulations you've gone through. And I'm like, yeah. Let's share about that. And I don't know. I mean, I'm the professional single girl here. And I would say that it does sound, I guess, to some of my friends sometimes like, oh, she knows what she's talking about. But I think no one ever has it, definitely myself included, has it like down pat when it comes to love or relationships.
You know what I think? I think you have hidden depths that you keep in check. And I think that's a good thing. You talk about single. I'm single. I'm out in the world. I'm doing this and doing that. And you can't have that kind of outlook unless you've experienced the other end of it.
Exactly. And that's why I was like, sure, I'll talk about it, because I think that, I'm in my 40s and sometimes it comes off like, oh, yeah, like I said, I know what I'm talking about. But I mean, I literally have been through so many heartbreaks. And I've probably broken a few hearts. So I want to be really transparent about that, yeah, I've been through, and let's see if I guess they're going to want specifics. No names, of course. But, I mean, I have a best friend that I've been friends with for about 18, 19 years. You haven't met her yet, but she's incredible. And if she were to be here, I mean, she probably wouldn't say anything because she's awesome. But she would tell you that there's many times over the past 18, 19 years that I've called her and been really like, I'm totally a different woman today. And that's what's great about aging. And that's what's great about maturity. I'm just going to sidebar that, is that like you said, you go through so many experiences and there's so many degrees of emotions behind them that one day you just go, okay, I get it, And then there's always something to get new. So I'll always be learning, hopefully until the day I die. But yeah, there was times I had called her, why am I not the one? Why didn't he pick me? Or it could be somebody else I was dating and I'm like, I had somebody one time, and this has happened to a few people, but, think everything's fine. Literally, not even just, literally, you think everything's fine, and then they call you up one day and go, okay, this is not happening. You're like, wait, weren't we just making plans last week? So I think that love hasn't changed over the centuries that we have been on this planet, and the people cheat, and people break up, and people see something else they want or someone else they want to be with. And I think the greatest thing that I've learned is just not to take it personal. And it's probably still a process, but just to, at some point along the way, when I had my heart broken a few times, I had to start thinking, like, what's it like for me when someone's interested in me, or I've decided I need to go another way? I started to look at the reverse side of it, instead of just thinking, oh, they don't want me, or, oh, and that's fine if that's the case. But I just started looking at it as there's been times where I've been with somebody and it's been great. And then at some point I see that it's not going to work out. So I try to look at it from that perspective now. If that happens in a relationship that I'm in, then it's like, oh, okay, I would want somebody to respect me if something changed in how they felt or them wanting to be with me. And I would appreciate them being honest about it, because I wouldn't want to waste their time, and, I wouldn't want them to waste my time. Once they're very clear that this is not working and maybe we've made some attempts, I think it's very healthy to move on. But yes, I have been through many heartbreaks, and there are some people who may have said I broke their heart, but again, I've always been transparent, and I think that's just part of going for the game of love. You just swing that bat, and you hope you hit that ball. I'm still swinging the bat, wow. And, yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
That's where you're at right now.
Hopefully that's a step toward what she was looking to hear, what they were looking to hear.
I don't know. Loss.
We both say loss.
At the same time. Well, there's all levels of loss. And yes, I'm always looking at things. Everybody looks at things through their own lens and their own experience, and that's what I'm doing. And I'm thinking about, well, even the phases of marriage. That's what my mother calls them. She calls them phases. You're in a phase. The good, like you have the 6-month bad phase or the 6-month good phase, or.
It's kind of a good way to look at it, because then it's not something like end all be all.
And there are times along the way, where I think, well, this I am talking about Bill now, because it was such a long marriage. I mean, there were times when both of us were like, are we really doing this? Is this really? I will say there was never a time that I thought I would leave. And I don't know what that goes back to, that some sort of course, it's like making love when you're mad, like making love with somebody when you're mad at them.
I have to try that. You said that a few times.
I have said that before.
A few times you're like, making love when you're mad. I'm like,
it's interesting. Have I said that on the air before? I don't think so.
You have. We'll have to research it.
We'll have to look at the archives.
Somebody let us know.
Yeah. So if you can still want to be with that person, that's one of the struggles. Maybe it's not just. I mean, yes, I've had tremendous loss.
Yes.
And I wasn't sure, not if, but how I was going to survive that. I can't ever say I wouldn't survive. There was never any choice of stopping.
That's incredible.
Even when I was angry, and it's like, yeah, well, I'm still here.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm sitting here. I sat in the kitchen all day. I had that first year after Bill died, my very good friend of mine would call me up and she'd say, "What did you do today? What did you do today?" I don't know. I sat here. I sat here for hours. I sat and stared at the wall. But in somebody asking me that, I was like, okay, I need to think about that. I need to take a step.
Wow.
So that monumental, debilitating loss can stop people, stick you in a hole and just make you sit there. And yet there was something in me that I was like, well, all right, I have 2 children. They're adult children at this point, but we're calling each other.
Yeah.
And we're trying to even just say hello. You ever been on the phone with somebody or been on the phone and been the person, like you just don't say anything? It's like you're sitting on the phone.
Yeah.
And you don't hang up.
Right.
And you don't hang up, but you're like, well, I don't know what we're going to talk about, but there's somebody on the other end of that phone.
Yeah.
I do love phones. I have loved phones. There's a picture of me. I don't even think I'm a year old. My mother's holding me, and I'm holding the big old phone receiver. Woo!
I know what you're getting for Christmas.
Yeah.
Vintage phone.
Vintage phone.
Let's see. Here I come.
So how do you move on from loss? I think might be the thing I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Any kind of loss, because it can't stop you, because you have to have a sense of self and you have to have a core.
Sense of self.
Sense of self. That is one of them. I didn't put that on the list. I made all those lists of everything I say, and
number one phrase. Can I just say that I want to say thank you for sharing that, because it really struck me that you said, there was never an option to give up. Like,
Never.
I'm still here, and that is tremendous, and not just, of course, for the loss that you endured, but also people are giving up all over the place, and just not even introducing that into your mind, heart, and soul. Just, I'm still here, I'm still here, I'm still here. I feel like that creates a lot of room for opportunity, for healing, for recovery, for putting the pieces together, for exploration, for a walk out in the sun, for friends. I remember I was in college. I can't believe I'm bringing this up. I was in college many, many, many years ago, and I was really depressed. Like, people know me now, they're like, you're too happy, you're happy all the time. But I've been through the phases.
Sure.
I was really depressed, and I can't even tell you what it was about, but it was a really down day. Like, super, I call it in the hole. I was in the hole. And one of my girlfriends in college, she came up to me, and she said something really funny and silly, like, well, you can't get like that down and give up, because like there'll be no more Pepsi. And I'm a Pepsi drinker. Whatever she said, I just started laughing. I was like, what? No more Pepsi? At the time, I was an avid soda drinker. What? No more of this? No more that. Oh, no, I'll be okay. And I feel like, some people feel like they don't have that bedrock of, I can't give up. This, there's no choice. I have to keep going on. And I feel like that you shared that was really powerful. I'm not saying it right, but your sharing of that is really powerful, because
thank you.
People need to know.
People,
I'm still here.
I'm still here.
You're still rocking.
Is an important statement, and I think everybody has that. I think everybody, no matter where you are, I'm still here. I can take a step. I can go outside. Going outside makes a tremendous difference.
It does, because you can just stay in. You can
oh,
Netflix all day and
you can just sit
cry.
there and stare at the wall. And I did.
Yeah.
And I did until...
Till you didn't?
In little steps. Weird things happened. I went on a tour. Did I tell you about it?
You told me about this.
Yeah.
Is it overseas?
Yeah, I went to Provence. And the reason... And I went by myself. Was on a tour, but I went by myself. And it was a year. I was gone for the first...
You went for a year?
No.
I didn't know that.
I went on this trip a year after Bill died.
Oh.
Like on that anniversary, I just decided
Yeah.
But what happened was this card showed up from my alumni association. I had never gotten any information from them about anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it was their travel group saying, RPI and Emory and University of Connecticut are taking a trip to Provence. It's like, well, I think I need to go. And I think that was like September, June, July, August, like 4 or 5 months after he died. I was like, well, all right, I'm going to do this. Couldn't find anybody to go with me. And I went by myself.
Perfect.
On this trip. And it was hard. It was very hard I'd never gone anywhere like single. I'd been married so long. Where am I going?
And out of the country.
Wow. And there were lots of couples on the trips, and the couples did their thing. And there were some girlfriends there who had taken a trip without their friends, and another woman who had lost her husband. And we struck up a conversation. She was really, really sweet and nice to me. But even on that trip, at the end, there was a closing night, party, get together. I almost didn't go. I was in my hotel room, and I was sitting there going, I can't go alone. I don't.
And then you went.
So then I went, gave myself my own pep talk. That really, Monica, you're going to sit here? No, you're not. You're going to get dressed. You're going to do your hair. You're going to do your makeup. You're going to put the black dress on. You're going to walk out the door.
Nice.
And then you're going to see what happens.
Yeah.
And you don't know. It's like walking in a room. You don't know what's going to happen.
You never know.
So you have to make the opportunities.
Yeah.
And it might be a flop. Nobody will talk to you.
Yeah.
Okay. That's okay.
You're here.
But you're here.
Yeah.
I did it. I did that, and then I did the next thing, and the next thing, and it just keeps going. I'm kind of rambling.
It's incredible.
About this,
great.
but
and I think we shared this that I was in prep for this this episode that I looked up. We were talking. I knew we were going to talk about loss, so I looked up Sheryl Sandberg, who's the COO of Facebook, who has a book out called Plan B, or. Wait, I know the name of the book. It is, Option B. Sorry.
Option B.
So I was like, Plan B? That sounds like something else. Disregard that. She has a book called Option B, and her husband suddenly died unexpectedly. And just dedicated this book to people having a plan B and not giving up. And it's just admirable to see. I have not experienced, knocking on wood. I mean, we're all born, we're all going to die. That's just a fact. But it hasn't touched me that closely yet. But I can't imagine what... Sometimes I actually try to see if I could prep myself, but I can't imagine not having somebody I've been close to, there. I mean, pets, not the same thing, but now, I can't imagine.
Pets are not the same thing.
They're not the same thing, but that's the closest I have emotional-wise. It's not the same thing at all. I'm just saying sometimes I think I can't imagine the strength that it takes to press forward somebody you shared a life with, someone you've shared kids with. I can't even imagine, and I feel like you have all crossed a terrain that,
Well,
you cross the terrain and the divide. That's
you have to do what you have to do.
Yeah.
And I get fundamental like that, and I don't know what makes that happen. I lost my father when I was 18.
Got it.
I watched my mother go through this.
Right.
So, not that she and I had ever talked about that before. We have since talked about that. But, my sons lost their father, so that's a different loss.
Yeah.
Bob lost his wife. He's got a set of circumstances. We have a very similar philosophy of things need to still get done.
Right.
And his girls were younger than my boys were when their mom died. I don't have any big, I don't have any great words of wisdom. What's the answer?
Said them.
What's the answer? The answer is you're still here.
You're still here.
You're still here. Oh, this one I did learn from my mother. My mother said after my father died, somewhere along the line when she was making a decision, she said, if he doesn't like it, he can come back. I'm like, well, okay.
I like that
there
one.
You go. And there's a strength in that.
Yeah, that's
there's
great.
An action in that. And I think that's part of it. It's you don't want to move and you don't want to take that step. But there's something about action. Action begets action and motion. And, somebody in motion is going to keep going at it.
Keep being in motion.
Keep being in motion.
And, and I think there's definitely a reason and there's times to just stare at the wall.
Sure.
Or I've had times where I've stayed in the house for 2 to 3 days and literally been in mourning over a relationship. I mean, literally, I know what it's like to or it could be just something you're going through. It has nothing to do with love, where you're just depressed. It could be loss of a job. It could be anything. It could be divorce. I think it's totally healthy to regroup.
Let's call it regrouping.
Yeah, regroup
and finding your strength
and stay and just get that silence or do what you need to do to heal and mend, and then, like you said, take your baby steps out, and do things. The important thing is at some point you start to move and you start to maybe go outside and you start to open up to people or whatever it is. I feel like we all know there's a certain piece of music we like that will pick us up. There's a coffee house we like to go to. There's a book we like to read. There's a movie we like to see. At some point, I think after the grieving period or the mourning period, to take that step forward, and you're still here, and there's a reason why you're still here, and I think that's what's really important too. There's a reason why we're still here, so that could be anything. There's anything could happen,
And I want to thank the people and my friends who did keep calling me up. What'd you do today? What'd you do today? I don't know. What did I do today? I don't know what I did. Every day. What'd you do today?
I'm going to use that. Should I have to?
And even if I was silent on the other end of the phone, they never got off the phone with me.
And they let you know.
Far and wide.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really great. That's moving. And I can only say that to my friend, my special friend. She knows who I am because I'm her stalker and I'm her biggest fan. And she's always like, "Don't say that," but I'm going to say I'm her biggest fan. Just her being there when I've been times where I felt like I've been in the hole and I've been through things and I've said things, I've been angry, shake my fist at God. I think we all go through. Like we all I feel like sometimes it seems like it's just us, who's in heartbreak, who's in despair, who's not being respected, who's not making enough money, who feels like a failure. We all experience, even the most confident. I seem very confident. I'm very blessed. I'm very happy. But I've been, life just, you get smacked in the head by life, punched, kicked down. And it's just part of the human existence, Part of being a human on this planet. There are times unexpected hits are going to happen. And I have to thank my friend. And I have multiple friends who have been there for me and have listened to me rant, rave, cry on the phone. I had a friend one time that was at an airport and I was going through something and I was like, I'm not doing well. Like literally, I just had this moment where I was like taking stock of my life. And I was like, wait a minute, this is not right. Like, this is not supposed to be where it is. And I let it fester and I let it grow. And he said to me, I'll never forget it. He said, do I need to get out of this airport, off of this plane and come see you right now? And it was strange enough that he didn't have to. Like he's just saying that. Yeah. Literally felt like a ton of bricks came off me. I felt better instantaneously. And I didn't even know I was looking for that. I wasn't looking for anything other than just really telling him how I felt. I said, I'm not well. Things are not going well. I'm just not in a good place. And this is a good friend that I had. We were friends, I think 5 years at that point, and just said, do I need to get off this plane? Do I need to come out now to your house right now? And I was like, no, I'm good. And it's so funny because you don't know what you need. And just his acknowledgement, soul to soul, he acknowledged me and what I was going through and offered that, lifted a ton of weight. Yeah. And I was like, thank you.
You talked about, you just mentioned crying.
Yeah.
Crying scares me.
Really?
Yeah. Because when I start, it's really hard to stop. And it doesn't happen often.
Right.
But there have been like these moments of, I just sat in the car and I was incoherent and crying, and I called up a friend and she's like, all right, just sit there, don't drive. I couldn't drive. It was hours. It was hours.
Immobilized.
And I was immobilized and paralyzed. And that really scared me. I was like, well, what? It didn't seem like there was any way out.
Right.
And I just, eventually, I guess I was...
You let it pass.
I was spent, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to get some water.
All right, yay.
And when it happened, what happened was I was going to a grief counselor, and I thought my appointment was at a certain time, and she looked at me, she goes, no, your appointment was at 9, not 11.
Oh.
And she says it happens all the time. And I just looked at her and I said, and now I'm going to cry. And I started in the lobby. I had this meltdown in the lobby, and I ran to my car and I sat there. She said she had scheduled in. She goes, this happens. I know it happens. You can come back at 2:00.
Oh, great.
Did
you go back?
I did go back.
Great.
I did. She was a little surprised, but she was really glad that I came back. And
you're resilient.
Well, I talked to my sister and I talked to my a really good friend, and they both said you need to go back. I didn't want to. I was embarrassed. I was mortified. I was horrified. My God, what did I just do? I went back, and I took the steps. I walked back in. I was like, all right. And she asked me. She goes, well, where is it? Where is it in your body?
Oh. That's great.
What does that feel like in your body? What is, that whole connection, that mind, body, soul? Because I will splinter. And loss and that kind of grief is a post-traumatic stress situation. And you splinter. Like you go into, whose voice is that in your head? She asked me. Well, who, like what part of you is telling you how to cope?
Wow. And I'm so glad you said that. That's real. Like, which voice do you listen to?
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, I remember when I was a kid, they had was it Philadelphia cream cheese, where they had the angel and the devil,
Oh,
like
yeah,
one
I
on each
remember
shoulder.
that. Yeah.
And they don't talk like that anymore. Now they just say, take medicine, take Prozac. But,
Well,
which
I
I'm not saying is a bad
I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to make any judgment on that. I don't have any judgment on that.
I'm not judging it, but I'm saying I remember that was a thing, and I don't see that much anymore. It's more, which is fine, not anti-medicine, but I think that's a key point. Like, what voice do you listen to? And there's a parable, I believe, about wolves. Like, there's a good wolf. I have to look it up. But anyway, the point of the story is there's a younger man talking to his grandfather, and he's saying, "Oh, there's two wolves inside of you. Which one will win the argument?" He's like, "The one you feed." And it's great that you listened to that one that said, "Get back in there."
Well,
share.
The thing she said to me was that all those parts of you are trying to help you.
Yeah.
Whether it's somebody who's, the crier, or the one who's the bully, or the one who is scared, who's the little kid who's scared. They're all in there.
Yeah.
And there's a whole study of, it's called internal family systems, and my friends have heard me
Love it.
talk about this. And I started kind of naming them. Oh, that's that version, that's that, and they're all me.
Yeah.
It's not like I have multiple personalities.
Yeah.
It's like, what part of me is coming forward?
Yeah.
To the bully, the one who's a bully, she's a little rough.
Yeah.
She's a bit of a steamroller, and the one who's scared just shuts down. That's when I go, it's fine, everything's fine, it's all fine. So I don't know.
Amazing.
I feel like I'm all over the place with how to cope, because there it is. It's how to cope, how to move forward. I'm still here.
Yeah.
If we call this episode anything, we should say
I'm still here.
I'm still here.
I love it.
I'm still here.
And that's important.
And that is very important. And I don't know.
Well, I know we're running out of time, but I will say when I went to Date with Destiny, Tony Robbins, he had a section about that. I don't remember what he called it, but I think it was the first time that I had heard something to the effect of what you just shared. He said that, you got to name these parts of yourself. Yes. And sometimes you got to, and I told my girlfriends this, I think for my birthday, we all went out, we was talking about, sometimes you got to duct tape one. I don't know if he said that or I said, you got to duct tape one on the mouth and put them in the trunk of the car. You got to put them in the back seat, because there's times at certain parts you want to come forward, whether it's ego, whether it's, I have, and he has name them. This is silly Sally. This is so-and-so.
I named them.
You be in a meeting and you need your powerful side to come forward, and then the little silly girl who's shy in the back is like, I don't want to say anything. It's like, no, get in the back of the car. I'm stepping
Who's driving the car right now? I like that.
Who's driving the car?
Who's driving the car?
Who's running the show in your life?
That's
day
right.
to day? It's took a whole spin, but I love that you shared that, because that's real. We all have choices day to day of who we're going to let step up, and it's absolutely right. Every side of you is there to help you, to support you. There's a time to grieve. There's a time to be silent. There's a time to be bold. There's a time to be brave. There's a time to sit still. There's a time to, just
cry and stop crying.
Yeah, and then you get to choose, and you can choose whichever one you want, whenever one you want. But hopefully, it gets to a point where you say, "I'm still here."
I'm still here,
and you move forward, and you take that action. So I don't know. Hopefully this has been a contribution to everyone. I'm sorry I didn't tell more stories, but
I don't know. I got started.
Yeah, it's great. I mean,
and it applies to all sorts of things.
Yeah, you lose your job. It's a job you really wanted. You're still here. Maybe there's a better job. I heard that phrase. Man's rejection is God's protection, whether you believe in God, not God, universe, whatever you believe in. Sometimes the best things happen way after the worst things happen, if that makes sense. Sometimes you take a hit and it's a blow, and then it takes years. And I think that's another gift of being older and maturity, is that years later you're like, oh, thank God that didn't work out, because now I'm in this city and I met this guy, or thank God because now I met so-and-so and I started this organization. This is the worst thing that happened to me, but now I'm helping people all over the world who are dealing with the same issue. We don't have the view of the master plan. And we're never going to find it out if we give up. Yeah. Never going to find out. So you're still here?
I'm still here. You're still here.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. So thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you for this conversation, and thank you for listening. Let us know what you think.
Yeah.
give us a shout out.
Yeah.
And we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, remember, you're still here. Keep going.
Keep going.
All right. Talk to you next time on Single Lady.
Married women. Bye-bye.